Season 9 of the Crew Motorfest arrives in less than 2 weeks, bringing exciting new features like a new island, NASCAR stock cars, and a revolutionary track editor. But before we explore all that, we need to tie up a few loose ends. This season mainly focuses on the iconic German manufacturer Bayerische Motorenwerke Aktiengesellschaft, commonly known as BMW. Ubisoft, Ivory-Tower, and BMW have maintained a close relationship for years, and this season alone, they added the most BMW cars in the entire franchise, 9 in total across 3 different disciplines. Until Season 9 launches, we'll be testing all of them. It's time to see which ultimate driving machine from Munich leads the pack in Street Tier 1, Street Tier 2, and racing disciplines. As always, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Now let's begin with this BMW Street Tier 2 comparison. Most of the BMW additions in this season of the Crew Motorfest were for Street Tier 2. Specifically, the M2 G87, M2 CS, and M3 CS were added throughout the season as shop additions, while the M4 CSL and the M3 E46 Street Rider edition were premium Summit exclusives. Let's also not forget the BMW cars that have been in the game from the start, including the M5 F10, M4 F82, M4 G82 Competition, and Liberty Walk Edition, M5 CS, M5 CS Rival Edition, i8 Roadster, and i8 Roadster Stellar Edition. The 4 variants of the M8, the 3 Z4 M40i variants, and of course the S1000R R bike are also included. Besides the bike and the 2 M5 CS models, all the other BMWs mentioned have received performance and handling upgrades this season, making them more competitive. When we last tested a bunch of BMWs, the M5 CS Rival Edition was considered the best. Clearly, it's time to update my leaderboards and see who is on top now. As I mentioned earlier, when reviewing the Mach 1 Golf GTI, our newest test track addition will be Trailblazing Forever from the Lamborghini playlist, which focuses on top speed rather than handling. I'll eventually add a third test track when Season 9 begins next month, but for now, we have Trailblazing Forever for top speed and Shinjuku Style for handling. While I'd love to show you each run individually, that would make this video much longer than necessary. Instead, we'll group them in 3-way and 4-way comparisons. First, we'll start with all the G80s, the M4 Competition, the M4 Liberty Walk, the M3 CS, and the M4 CSL. Next, we have the M5s with the standard F10 and F80 models, the M5 CS and the M5 CS Rival Edition. Next, we have all of the M8s, the Competition Coupe, the Interception Unit, the No Rules Edition, and the Performance Edition. Next, we have all of the Z4s, the standard Z4 M40i, the Agent Edition, and the Motorfest Edition. Finally, we have the remaining BMWs, the G87 M2, the G87 M2 CS, the E46 M3 Street Rider Edition, and the S1000 RR Superbike. Two more BMWs remain here before we look at our leaderboard, the i8 Roadster and the i8 Roadster Stellar Edition. Well, it looks like we've gone through them all here at Trailblazing Forever. So let's check the leaderboard and see where our BMWs stand. At the top are all of our M8s with the M3 CS, M4 Liberty Walk Edition and Z4 M40i Motorfest Edition just behind. Each car is only a few milliseconds apart, showing how close they are and how competitive they are on a straight line canyon carving course like this. As expected, because the bike is limited in speed despite its performance, it finished last, over 10 seconds slower than the M8 Performance Edition. However, in my opinion, that bike wasn't the biggest disappointment. The real letdown is the M4 CSL. Aside from the extremely limited 3.0 CSL, the M4 CSL is the most powerful and lightest production M4 ever made, yet it doesn't feel as quick or agile as you might think. It's similar to how the developers retuned the Alpha Giulia Quadrifoglio and the Alpha Giulia GT-AM. The QVs are faster in a straight line and more manageable around corners, while the GT-AM feels sluggish, even though it's supposed to be lighter and faster. I hope they revisit the GT-AM and M4 CSL and give them a proper performance update. Now, as we test handling and city cornering with our BMWs in Shinjuku style, I'll show you those timed records in the same order as before, so you won't have to listen to me drone on about which cars come next. And that's it. As we check our leaderboard for Shinjuku Style, things are very different. The M2CS and the M5CS Rival Edition dominate this track, setting some of the fastest times I've ever recorded in a fully upgraded Street Tier 2 with no affixes. The standard Z4 M40i and the M3 CS Trail just behind. The M3 Street Rider Edition makes the top 25, proving that in a technical city setting like this, it's quite nimble. Although the M4 CSL finishes within the top 50, it's disappointing because it's not as agile or quick as the M4 Liberty Walk Edition in this environment. That car really should be more competitive, especially since it was a Platinum Summit reward. All of the cars performed as expected, even the bike, which remains the slowest BMW here. So, how can we sum this up? If there's one versatile BMW that will never let you down in any way, it's the BMW M3 CS. Even though the M8s are fast and the M2 CS and M5 CS Rival Edition are agile, the M3 CS combines the best of both worlds: incredible agility and impressive straight line speed. There are two BMWs here that are quite surprising: the M2 CS and the Z4 M40i. As we saw in Shinjuku Style, the M2 CS is an agile, driver-focused road weapon. It could use a bit more nitrous power and acceleration to be a perfect all-rounder, but when it comes to cornering, despite the lateral G and weight differences between this and the standard G87 M2, the M2 CS just can't go wrong on technical turns. The Z4 M40i is another ideal all-rounder that surprised me. The updates this car received this season make it a strong competitor for grand races and a true challenger to its Japanese counterpart, the Toyota GR Supra. Regarding disappointments, we discussed at length how the M4 CSL isn't as competitive as it should be, but the bike's slow speed as a Street Tier 2 vehicle honestly raises the question of whether bikes are still competitive in a game like this. We'll find out in a later video. Until then, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw today, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Also, let me know which of these Bavarian beasts you choose for a Street Tier 2 grand race. Hopefully, the game's relationship with BMW remains strong for the upcoming Neue Klasse design language, or even for the performance tanks to arrive in the forms of the G90 M5 and G99 M5 Touring. Until then, stay safe and I'll see you later.